Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Richard Youngman, CEO of Cleantech Group, a catalyst for opportunities and sustainable innovation. From investable companies to the trends investors need to know about, the company has tracked the market since 2002. Cleantech Group's data is also available through the Nasdaq ESG Data Hub. Richard, it's great to meet with you. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks, Jill. It's great to be here.
Why is investing in sustainable innovation so hot right now?
I think three principal reasons. One is the urgency of the problem that sustainable innovation, or the set of problems sustainable innovation is trying to solve, i.e., in the biggest terms, the climate crisis. The second reason, the pressures to act, particularly for bigger companies, are intensifying. We could certainly talk a bit more about that, but I think investors are putting a lot more pressure on bigger companies now to get serious. And thirdly, very different than, say, for argument's sake, 10 years ago, even 20 years ago when we started out, the readiness of the solutions. So some of the technologies are ready for prime time and more are coming.
What are some of the more significant sustainable innovation investment trends that you see?
Well, I think picking up on a couple of things I said, I think if you look at our data in terms of venture capital, you're seeing a doubling in activity there over, say, the last 5 years. We're now talking about $40 billion in venture and growth capital annually across all the different segments, be they from ag and food, the future of transportation, the future of energy and power, and so forth. But I think the big changes right now are a lot to do with what's going on in that early dynamic, the urgency to act. So big finance is suddenly, in my view, woken up to the true inherent risks that we are carrying around in the stocks of public markets. Obviously, ESG investing is hot, and there's a lot of pressure, be it from activism, shareholders, and so forth, on companies to frankly do more. And I think that is change. You can see that, if you like, in the SPAC phenomenon that's become massive over the last 12 months. Sure, there are some worrisome issues around that as well, but I think if you want to take a positive take on that, what you're seeing is people observing that there is risk in the incumbency and opportunity in the future. And more capital is seeking out these kind of opportunities.
What does the road ahead look like?
Well, I think, if I'm honest, I think the road ahead's going to be massively bumpy and rocky, but hugely exciting if you can hold those sort of two thoughts together, right? So today we have a situation where big corporations are making more and more pledges, governments are making more and more pledges around how they're going to get to net zero by 2050. I think the honest truth, if you get underneath that, is they don't have all the answers, and that's okay. It's our collective jobs to help people, find those answers. What we can't do, though, is make these commitments and not start to act. And so the actions are starting, and the question is, can people keep the faith? Because this is a big journey. The human species, the global economy, however you wish to look at it, has never taken on this kind of challenge, which is, essentially to decarbonize the whole of global industry over a 3-decade period. That is just not a challenge that has ever been done before. We've industrialized the world over 3 centuries. Now we're going to transform it over 3 decades. That's both hugely exciting. There will be huge winners. There'll be massive new companies that we've never heard of today formed in that period. There are companies who've been bellwethers for the last 100 years who will suffer. And that's what I mean by it's going to be both bumpy, rocky, but hugely exciting.
And Richard, to wrap up here in the last minute, why partner with Nasdaq on the ESG Data Hub?
Well, as I said, big finance is really interested in these themes right now. ESG data is not easy to come by. These are new things people are trying to measure, trying to look at, trying to appreciate. We have a very good window through our data and insights on what is happening in earlier stage companies, companies who we think are going to burst onto the scene in the coming years. And so Nasdaq's clients, be they asset managers, banks, and so forth, I think have the opportunity through the hub to start looking more holistically at what ESG, but particularly the E, means.
All right, Richard, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.